Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars, topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, where we discuss all news in the world of basketball, NBA, college, high school, whatever it may be. I'm a big high school basketball guy, so I love it. Right now you have like the state championships and the section championships going on, so I'm really interested in it. But I'm not going to talk about any high school today. We'll stick with college and with the pros. As I said, my name is Ben Brown. Paulina's out of the studio today. She's not feeling too good. Hopefully she'll be back tomorrow to record and talk all things basketball, but not really sure. We'll have to wait and see what happens. So let's talk about some basketball here, guys. We have a lot to fill in, a lot to cover from the weekend. We're going to start off here in the NBA games and scores, as always, talking about on Friday, first and foremost, 76ers without Joel Embiid. Of course, he is going to be done for the rest of the season. They beat the Knicks 105-102. Behind Dario Saric. The rookie had 21 points and 10 rebounds. Another good, solid big for Philly, although he's can be maybe a lot of a stretch four. The Philadelphia 76ers have done a great job of drafting big guys. Even though Embiid is injured, they traded away Noel. Jahlil Okafor looks like he'll be good. Have to see what Ben Simmons can do next season, so hopefully these guys can stay healthy and really put something together, because I think they'll be good next couple of years if they can. Without Kyle Lowry, the Raptors go on the road and defeat the Washington Wizards on Friday, 114-106. Big game there from DeMar DeRozan, 32 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. John Wall in the loss had 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. That's a big win for Toronto. Really pushing well. I mean, they're equal on record right now with Washington for the number 3 seed. And to do it without Kyle Lowry, the all-star point guard, really says a lot. On the road as well, big win there for Toronto. The Magic pick up a 110-99 victory over the Miami Heat. Nikola Vucevic had 25 points and 9 rebounds. The Cavaliers on Friday set an NBA record by knocking down 25 three-pointers. But they only won by 5. They win 135-130 over the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta, monster fourth quarter. They had 42 points in the quarter. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 36 points in total, but the Cavaliers do get the victory to improve to 42-18 and stay atop the Eastern Conference. The Milwaukee Bucks defeat the LA Clippers at home, 112-101. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 24 points, 8 assists, and 5 boards. Blake Griffin, 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists in the loss for the Clips. The Dallas Mavericks, with Nerlens Noel, he gets a double-double. He had 17 points and 15 boards as they defeat the Memphis Grizzlies 104-100. Zach Randolph in the loss had 24 points and 10 rebounds in that game. The Utah Jazz beat the Brooklyn Nets, fresh off the Nets' victory against the Kings, although they do lose to the Jazz 112-97. George Hill, 34 points, 7 assists, and 2 boards. Brook Lopez had 17 points and 5 rebounds in the loss. The Phoenix Suns defeat Russell Westbrook and the OKC Thunder 118-111. Russ had a monster game, 48 points, 17 rebounds, and 9 assists. Although they did lose, Allen Williams, top performer for the Suns, 14 points and 13 rebounds. The Spurs have to go to overtime to defeat Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, and the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans have 2 wins now in the Cousins era because they did win last night. We'll talk about that. But the Spurs win 101-98. Kawhi Leonard, I don't know what else to say about the quiet leader of San Antonio Spurs. 31 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. And then at the end on Friday night, the Boston Celtics defeat the Los Angeles Lakers by 20. They win 115-95. Isaiah Thomas had 18 points, 8 assists, and 2 rebounds in the victory there for the Celtics. On Saturday, the Detroit Pistons go on the road to absolutely kill the Philadelphia 76ers 136-106. Andre Drummond had 14 points and 14 rebounds in that game. The Bucks win again. They win in back-to-back nights. The Greek Freak had 21 points and 10 rebounds as they win 101-94 over the Toronto Raptors. The Miami Heat defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers 120-92. Huge victory there by 28. Goran Dragic had 23 points and 5 assists in the victory there for the Miami Heat. The Los Angeles Clippers, they avenged their loss from the previous night to win 101-91 on the road against the Chicago Bulls. Jamal Crawford had 25 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists off the bench. The Hornets defeat the Nuggets 112-102. Kemba Walker, 27 points. Nikola Jokic, the big man, is really good, really solid, having a great second half of the season here. 31 points and 14 rebounds in the loss. James Harden and the Houston Rockets defeat the Memphis Grizzlies on Saturday 123-108. James Harden had 23 points, 11 assists, and 7 rebounds. The Spurs win again, back-to-back games in overtime over the Minnesota Timberwolves 97-90. Kawhi Leonard, 34 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. Karl Anthony Towns had 24 points and 14 rebounds in the loss there. And on Saturday, the Portland Trail Blazers defeat the Brooklyn Nets 130-116. CJ McCollum had 31 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Now let's get to yesterday's games. Yesterday's games really some nice games, some good storylines. The Indiana Pacers go on the road to defeat the Atlanta Hawks 97-96. Big minute there, last minute there by Glenn Robinson III. Paul George had 34 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists in the victory. Tim Hardaway Jr., another good game for Atlanta. 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists for him. The Warriors, they finally win without Kevin Durant. They do win 112-105 over the New York Knicks. Steph Curry had 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. The Unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis in the loss, had 24 points and 15 rebounds. The Knicks did something pretty interesting in this game. They had kind of a little bit of like a throwback-ish feel, where in the first half they didn't have any in-game broadcast entertainment. No cheerleaders, no music, nothing on the Titantron, nothing in the first half of the game. And Draymond Green had a comment after the game, which we'll get into at the end of the show in the third segment. It was kind of weird to watch and look at, and he had some comments about it. Really, every player had something to say about it. Most of them didn't like it, but I give Knicks maybe a little bit of credit for trying something. It was just a little experiment for the first half, and it wasn't too bad. But Draymond Green had some comments about it, how he thought it was disrespectful and kind of really a detriment to what the game has evolved into. So we'll talk about that at the end of the show. But anyways, the Warriors do return back to winning ways without KD. They win 112-105 over the Knicks. The Warriors now 51-11. So, I mean, still having a great season, although they cannot match record-wise what they did last year. The Phoenix Suns defeat the Boston Celtics 109-106. Isaiah Thomas returning back to Phoenix where he used to play. He had 35 points, 5 assists, and 2 rebounds, although the Suns did win on a buzzer beater. Eric Bledsoe had a great game. He had 28 points, 9 assists, and 6 rebounds for the Suns. Big loss there for the Celtics. The Wizards bounced back after their loss to Toronto to defeat the Orlando Magic 115-114. Bradley Beal had 32 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds in the victory there. The Sacramento Kings, I mean, we are in Sacramento recording this show, of course, so talk about them a lot. But the Kings, I mean, they let one get away from them last night. They lost to the Jazz in overtime at home, 110-109. Rudy Gobert tip in at the buzzer to give the Jazz the victory. He had 16 points and 24 rebounds, did the big man from France. The Kings at one point had a double-digit lead. They let it get away. They had an 11-point lead at halftime, and just, I mean, not a good performance there from Sacramento. 18 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds for Darren Collison. He was the Kings' best performer from last night. The Mavericks defeat the OKC Thunder 104-89. Russell Westbrook, 29.6 rebounds and 5 assists. So not the best game for Westbrook. He also did get a technical foul. He got a flagrant foul 1. So not the best game from Russ. Dirk Nowitzki, the legend from Germany, had 18 points and 12 rebounds in the victory. And Mark Cuban said something prior to the game about Russell Westbrook that, quite honestly, I don't know what he is simply talking about. And I think there's just something he has against Westbrook. There's a problem he has with him. Seriously, I think there's something he has against Westbrook that just makes him so upset with him. Because I don't know where he's coming from with this. We'll talk about what that is at the end of the show. I don't want to give away too much. But, I mean, I don't know exactly where Cuban is coming from. And I think it's honestly quite laughable. So, in the last game of the night, last night, the Pelicans pick up a 105-97 victory over the Los Angeles Lakers. Cousins and Davis, the two Twin Towers, played great as well. Anthony Davis had 31 points and 9 rebounds. DeMarcus Cousins had 26 points and 15 rebounds. And they surprisingly actually got some contributions from someone other than those two guys. Drew Holiday, 20 points and 12 assists. Etuan Moore off the bench had 13 points for the Pelicans, who improved to 25 and 38. So you look at the NBA schedule for tonight. Do a quick rundown. The Bucks will be in Philadelphia taking on the Sixers. The Knicks will be in Orlando to take on the Magic. The Cavaliers will look to avenge their loss prior this weekend to the Miami Heat. The Hawks will be hosting the Golden State Warriors. The Detroit Pistons will be playing the Chicago Bulls. The Memphis Grizzlies will hope the 10-win Brooklyn Nets. The Timberwolves will be hosting the Trailblazers. The Hornets will take on the Pacers. The Spurs will battle the Rockets. That'll be a great game there, number 2 versus number 3 in the Western Conference. The Kings will be on the road taking on the Nuggets. The Jazz are at home hosting AD and Boogie Cousins and the rest of the Pelicans. And the Clippers will be out west hosting the Boston Celtics. We'll take our first break of the show. After the break, we're going to talk about college basketball. Sorry about that. Talk about some college basketball past this weekend. We had Duke and North Carolina, and Michael Jordan saying the ceiling is the roof. Talk about that and more after the break here at the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. We are back here on the show talking some college basketball now. I mean, we're like in that transitional period where some of the mid-majors are in their conference tournaments. The big elite power conferences are like ending their regular season, getting ready to go in to the conference tournaments. We have Selection Sunday this Sunday, so of course on Monday we'll have a really, really big show planned. Talking a lot of college basketball. Really looking forward to the upcoming NCAA tournament in the next couple of weeks. But on Friday night, the West Virginia Mountaineers hosted number 24 ranked Iowa State, and the number 10 ranked Mountaineers win by 11, 87-67 over Iowa State. Daxter Miles Jr. had 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist in the victory on senior night for West Virginia. So now let's talk about Saturday. Saturday, a ton of games, a lot of big ones here. Number 1, Kansas go on the road to defeat Oklahoma State 90-85. Frank Mason III, 27 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds for the Jayhawks. Good game there. Number 2, Villanova go on the road to take on Georgetown, and they absolutely killed them. 81-55, a huge second half from Villanova. They outscored Georgetown by 16 points. Josh Hart had 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in the victory for number 2 Villanova. I got to imagine if they can continue to play well in the Big East, they're going to have a number 1 seed wrapped up. I mean, they've been so consistent, so good all year. Number 3, UCLA at home against Washington State. They defeated the Cougars 77-68. Lonzo Ball had 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 14 assists. I don't know what else I can say about the guy. He's absolutely fantastic. Not a big fan of some of the other people in his family, but Lonzo he's a stud. I would take him number 1 in the draft. Number 4, Gonzaga hosted University of Pacific on Saturday in the West Coast Conference quarterfinal, and they won 82-50. Nigel Williams-Goss had 20.6 rebounds and 4 assists in that one. And that gets us to number 17, Duke, against number 5, North Carolina. You'll remember that Duke did win the first matchup at Cameron Indoor Stadium earlier this season, and North Carolina looking to avenge their loss on Saturday. And they did. They won 90-83. Good game by Joel Berry off the bench for UNC. He had 28 points and 2 rebounds. Luke Kennard had 28 points and 5 rebounds for Duke in the loss. They do lose by 7. North Carolina does wrap up the ACC regular season tournament. They're 26-6 and 14-4, so they are the ACC regular season champions and the number 1 seed in the ACC tournament. Okay, so all that's fine and dandy, but everyone's talking about what Michael Jordan said this weekend prior to the game. So Michael Jordan, of course, the most famous alum from North Carolina, the greatest basketball player of all time. He's talking a little bit about the college football program because he has sponsored them now. Obviously, being Jordan and North Carolina, they are now sponsored by Michael Jordan. UNC's done a great job of building their college football program. They're usually consistently around the top 15 to top 20. So they've done a really good job there. But they're trying to obviously push it more. Maybe the backing of Michael Jordan will help. So that's what he stepped up and did. So he's talking a little bit about the game earlier, talking about the college football program, how they need to really build it up. And I don't know if he kind of had a little mishap with some word choices or phrasing or what exactly happened with MJ. But he said the ceiling is the roof as far as like the college football program is concerned. Well, yes, Michael, the ceiling is the roof. Like, that is a great observation you made there. That was perfect. I think I don't know if he meant to say the sky's the limit or the ceiling can't hold us or what exactly he meant there. But he said the ceiling is the roof. Well, I mean, yes, that's a great observation there. I mean, crying Jordan meme incoming in 3, 2, 1, now. I mean, come on, Michael, really? The ceiling is the roof. A little bad word choice there. But nevertheless, North Carolina do defeat their inner city rival Duke 90-83. Number 6, Oregon are on the road taking on Oregon State, and they win 80-59. Dylan Brooks, 25 points in that game. Number 7, Arizona on the road taking on ASU, Arizona State, and they win 73-60. Kadeem Allen, 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists in the victory there. Number 8, Louisville defeat North Carolina 71-64. Mangkong Mathiang had 18 points and 11 rebounds for the Louisville Cardinal. Number 9, Kentucky go on the road to take on Texas A&M, and they win 71-63. Idris Adebayo, 13 points and 8 rebounds for the Wildcats in the victory. Number 11, Baylor go on the road to defeat Texas 75-64. Number 12, Florida lose to Vanderbilt 73-71. A very, very good win there for Vanderbilt as they attempt to try and get into the tournament. I don't think it's going to happen. They would need a whole lot of help in the SEC championship tournament. If they could get there, that'd be great. It's an automatic bid, but they would need a whole lot of help. But they do get a nice victory over number 12, Florida, 73-71. Seton Hall upsets 13th ranked Baylor. I keep saying Baylor. 13th ranked Butler, 70-64. Seton Hall do get some good contribution from Angel Delgado, 20 points and 16 rebounds. Number 14, SMU defeat Memphis 103-62. Sterling Brown had 26 points and 10 rebounds for SMU. Number 15, Florida State defeat number 25, Miami, 66-57. Number 20, St. Mary's defeat Portland, 81-58 in the quarterfinal of the West Coast Conference basketball tournament. And number 21, Wichita State defeat Missouri State, 78-63 in the Missouri Valley Conference semifinal. They, of course, are going on to the final. Number 23, Virginia defeats Pittsburgh, 67-42 on Saturday. And then that takes us over to Sunday. Had some games in the top 25 as well on Sunday. Number 16, Purdue defeats Northwestern. I mean, I think they're still going to get in, but I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, This would have been a great opportunity here for Northwestern, but they do lose at home to number 16th ranked Purdue, 69-65. Number 18 Cincinnati defeat UConn, 67-47. Number 21 Wichita State, they do win the Missouri Valley Conference over Illinois State, 71-51. So Wichita State are back in the tournament. They're ranked number 21 overall. Not a great strength of schedule, as we mentioned over on Wednesday, but I think they'll still be seated somewhere in the middle, a team with a whole lot of experience, great leadership that could maybe make some noise in March. I'll be looking forward to see what happens there. Number 22, Wisconsin did return back to their winning ways behind Bronson Canning 17 points to defeat Minnesota 66-49. It's good to see the Badgers finally getting back to their winning ways. They've struggled so much recently. All right, that takes us to tonight. We do have Gonzaga in action and St. Mary's in action. Those two are both in action. The semifinal games in the West Coast Conference semifinals. Gonzaga and St. Mary's do both win. Gonzaga is taking on Santa Clara, and St. Mary's will take on BYU. And if they do both win, then they'll be advancing to the final tomorrow to see who wins that. We'll take our last break of the show. After the break, we're going to talk about some news in basketball. What is Mark Cuban saying in regards to Russell Westbrook? And what is Draymond Green's problem with a little bit of a change? We'll talk about that right after the break here at the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. One more, guys. Don't you guys go anywhere.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, talking about some news in basketball. I'd like to thank you once again for returning back to the show. Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban. He's definitely not a guy who's afraid to speak what's on his mind. Been fined numerous times by the NBA. He even has a little thing where every time he gets fined, he donates it to charity, and he basically uses it as throwaway money. I mean, he's got zillions of dollars, started broadcast.com, does a lot of great work on Shark Tank. I love him on that show. I love that show in general. It's a great show, but I don't know what his problem is with Russell Westbrook, but it's really, really clear that he has one. Remember Cuban a couple of years back calling Westbrook, saying he was not a star. Doesn't think he's a star. Thinks he's just a really good player. Mark, I mean, Russell Westbrook's a star. I don't know if you've seen him play enough. Maybe that's the problem. Russell Westbrook is a star. He's an absolute stud. You can't say the dude's not a star. He's a flat-out stud. So I don't know what his deal is with Westbrook, but he wasn't done talking bad about the guy. And I'm not going to say I'm the biggest Westbrook fan because I think there's a reason Kevin Durant left, and it's clear. I don't think he and Westbrook got along. I don't think the friendship was as good as it might have seemed. And Westbrook is one of those guys that I don't think is going to win a championship. I put him in that Carmelo Anthony mold. But you got to respect Russell Westbrook for the player he is on the court, what he's doing this season in particular. The guy's averaging a triple-double, 31 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds. It's what he's averaging practically right now. But Mark Cuban's not the biggest fan of Westbrook's. They were asking him about the MVP race and who he necessarily considers in it. And he says, right now I think it's a toss-up between Houston's James Harden and Cleveland's LeBron James, with Kawhi Leonard in the mix. What? You're not including Russell Westbrook? And then he said, no, I'm not. I don't think he really meets the criteria of the MVP right now. What? Mark, I don't know what your deal is with Westbrook, but you got to realize what the guy is doing right now is literally historic. He's averaging a triple-double right now. The only other guy to do that is Oscar Robertson. If you are able to do something that only one other player has done in the history of the NBA, I think you have to give credit where credit is due. You have to give Russell Westbrook the MVP. The media has been talking recently about how valuable the MVP is in general. How much stock do we put into triple doubles? Because when you look at true value and the word value, the MVP is clearly LeBron James. I mean, bar none, he should be the MVP for the last decade. Look at what happened when he left the Cavaliers. They instantly became the worst team in the NBA, although they had the best record in the NBA with LeBron James. He goes to Miami, and although Chris Bosh did go with him, they were in the finals 4 years in a row. LeBron was the best player on all 4 of those teams, and they won 2 titles. He was the MVP for both of those championships. He leaves Miami to go back to Cleveland. What happens to Miami? They're a playoff team. They're barely squeaking by. He goes back to Cleveland, up in the finals. I realize Kevin Love did come with him, but still, LeBron James, on true value, is the most valuable player in the NBA. The problem is that in sports, we don't look at the MVP for what it really is. We look at it for the person who has the best stats, maybe with a little bit of value sprinkled in there. You could argue Russell Westbrook's truly a valuable player. I mean, look what he's averaging. He's got his team in the playoffs without Kevin Durant. They could easily be the 4th seed. They're only a couple of games out of that. So he's got a chance to really, really, truly show how much value he has. For me, I'd go with James Harden. I think the stats are really, really close in comparison. He's not averaging a triple-double, of course. He's averaging about 7 rebounds, but he leads the league in assists. For James Harden, I didn't think he even knew how to do that. And Mike D'Antoni's had a huge effect on him and the rest of the Houston Rockets organization. So I would go with Harden. Better team as well, 3rd in the Western Conference. But you got to at least put Russell Westbrook in the mix for the MVP. Mark Cuban, I think that's a disgrace to even say that. I'm not sure what your problem is with Westbrook. Yeah, you might call him an amazing athlete and the most explosive player in the league and has a high motor, but you're not calling him a star, and you're not saying he's in the MVP race. Honestly, that is just really, really laughable. And I don't know what your problem is with Russ, but, I mean, you got to give him credit where credit's due. He's a fantastic player, and he's in the MVP race. He's at worst second. Seriously. He's there. Okay, so we'll change gears a little bit. Mentioned the Warriors and Knicks. Obviously, the Warriors do win that game without KD. Finally get a win there. It's good to see the Warriors back. Hopefully, they can right the ship and keep things going without Kevin Durant. But the Knicks decided to do something yesterday, kind of taking it back a little bit. So in the first half, the Knicks announced before the game that there would be no in-game music, no video, no entertainment, no nothing during the first half of the game. Just trying to let you take in the sights and sounds of the NBA and the whole experience. So I guess that's an okay thing, you know, for only one half. It's not too big of a deal, a little experiment here. Why you would maybe do it in maybe your biggest game of the season, national televised against the best team in the NBA. I mean, I don't know about if I would agree with that, but I don't got an issue with them maybe taking it back a little bit. Just one time, a little experiment. That's okay. I'd always love to maybe get an in-depth and up-close look at what some of these players are saying on the court, because you can never really hear all the trash talk that goes on. You have to do a lot of lip reading, so you never really tell exactly what's going on. So I would maybe like to see a little bit of that. But nevertheless, the Knicks did do that. But the players are not the biggest fans of that. I mean, not whatsoever. I can see how it could be a little weird. You're used to something every single day for the last few years. For some of these guys that have only been there a little bit. Even in high school, you have the band. In college, you have the band and you have music. And in the NBA, you have, obviously, cheerleaders and like the T-shirt cannons and like the defense chants and all that stuff going on. You didn't really have any of that. So Draymond Green, who's definitely not afraid to speak his mind either, he really, really questioned the decision to do that. He said, quote, "I thought it was pathetic. It was ridiculous. It changed the flow of the game. It changed everything. You get used to playing a certain way. And to me, it was completely disrespectful to everyone from NBA Senior Vice President of Entertainment and Player Marketing Michael Levine to the Warriors President and COO Rick Welts, and all the people that have done things to change the game from an entertainment perspective." He also said it gives the game a great vibe. That's complete disrespect here. You advance things in the world to make it better. You don't go back to what was bad. It's like computers that can do anything now. It's like going back to paper. Why would you do that? It was just ridiculous. So I get for where Draymond's getting a little bit. You want to make advances. You make things more entertaining. Why would you change it back? It's only for a half, though. It's not like they did it for the whole entire season. It's only for one half. As far as making an impact on the game, I really don't see that being the case. I can see how it might be a little funny, a little confusing, like kind of like, wait, I just noticed there's no music playing right now. Like, what's going on here? What's happening? I don't know anything about this. I can see how it can maybe throw you off a little bit, but making an impact on the game, I really don't see that being the case. The second half went back to normal. Everything was hunky-dory. I think it was just maybe one of those things that had you a little confused, and I don't think it made a huge impact on the game. I think it was just Draymond Green definitely not afraid to speak his mind. So one more quick thing before we end the show. Kim Anderson, he's the head coach at Missouri. Well, not so much anymore. He's being asked to leave and step down as the men's basketball coach just after 3 seasons. Anderson took over in 2014 after Frank Haith left for the Tulsa opening. He went 19-44 in his first 2 seasons, and this season they are 7-23. The school asked him to leave at the end of the season. He's going to be able to coach in the SEC tournament upcoming, but at 7-23, I don't think Missouri's going to be going anywhere soon. He said, this decision has been difficult for me personally because of the disrespect I have for Kim. That's what the athletic director, Jim Sturck, said in a statement. I know how hard he and his staff have been working to turn this program around over the last 3 seasons. However, the lack of on-court success has resulted in a significant drop in interest around our program, and we cannot afford to have that continue for another year. So basically he's saying, we can't bring anyone in because we're not doing too well. We kind of have to let you go because we can't let the players go. This is something that happens all the time in sports. Missouri were pretty good in basketball a few years before that. Remember, they were the number 2 seed one year in the tournament, then they lost in the first round. But since then, Missouri really haven't able to been relevant in college basketball. So hopefully they can turn things around. The SEC's tough. Kentucky every season. Florida's good. Vanderbilt's never an easy out. Texas A&M's competitive. So Missouri, hopefully they can right the ship and turn things around. But Kim Anderson will not be part of that regime anymore. That's going to be it for the show, guys. I'd like to thank you once again for listening. My name is Ben Brown, signing off here at the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. We will see you guys next time, and have a good day.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.